In this video, you'll see how Mark Slats earned second place in the 2018 Golden Globe race. Subscribe to Slowboat Sailing, where you'll see the stories of the most interesting sailors in the world, including Jean-Luc the winner of the 2018 Golden Globe race and six-time circumnavigator. Mark Slats is a three-time circumnavigator, and he completed a solo circumnavigation sailing the 46-foot Alan Buchanan designed yacht Cornelia in 2004-2005. The Dutch sailor was born in Darwin, Australia, and moved to the Netherlands at age 8. He's bought the Rustler 36, the Ohpen Maverick, the first one to be built. Mark has his own business renovating old houses, but found preparing for the GGR and the 2007 Talisker Transatlantic Rowing Challenge from the Canaries to Antigua in the Eastern Caribbean took up a great deal of his time. I'm out training 8 hours each day and have been spending the rest planning for these two events. It's very time consuming. Remarkably, Slats overcame the disappointment of losing his fellow rower in the two-man class shortly before the start of the Talisker Challenge, but went on to and won the single-handed class in a record time after finishing 4th overall, ahead of all the two-man crews. Mark's GGR challenge is managed by the Dutch naval architect Dick Koopmans. The yacht was sailed across the North Sea to his home port in Wassenaar near the fishing port of Scheveningen early in 2017. He had a three-man team fitting the boat out under Koopman's direction while Mark was rowing across the Atlantic. Why has he entered the GGR? Because I live for this stuff. Mark Slats has been in second place for most of the race. He took over second place after Philip Pichet had a broken rudder and violated race rules by using his satellite phone extensively prior to retiring at Cape Town. Since Cape Town, Mark Slats has trailed Jean-Luc the French ocean sailor, by a large margin. Mark Slats trailed Jean-Luc by as much as 2,000 nautical miles in the Pacific Ocean, but he was able to cut the lead after suffered a pitch pole that damaged his mast and caused his shrouds to become loose and threatened destroying the entire rig. Sailed more conservatively and slower in the second half of the race after that accident right before Cape Horn, and Mark Slats was able to cut the distance until they got to the North Atlantic, where was able to extend the lead going into the Bay of Biscay. Slats came within 10 miles of the lead for the first time in the North Atlantic near the Azores, but he got the bad wind on the eastern side of the Azores high and did not have enough fuel reserves to motor quickly through it. He lost a lot of ground, 300 to 400 miles behind the race leader Jean-Luc When he was just entering the Bay of Biscay, a storm report spooked his manager Dick Koopmans enough to violate race rules and call Mark directly via messaging on the satellite phone. That resulted in a 36-hour time penalty. In the end, Mark Slats did not have to follow Koopman's advice and divert to La Coruña, Spain, to avoid the storm, because the storm that Koopmans was warning Slats about never materialized. Moreover, Golden Globe race maintains that they would have conveyed Koopman's message, but because Koopmans ignored Golden Globe race rules and their directives not to contact Mark directly, imposed the penalty, which they assert could have resulted in his elimination from the Golden Globe race. As it is, he finished in second place after 214 days, but with the 36-hour time penalty that pushes his race to approximately 216 days, or approximately 4 days behind Jean-Luc the winner and record holder for the race. Slats is 3,000 nautical miles ahead of his nearest competitor, Uku Randama, at the finish. Slats has been involved in some controversies surrounding the retro race rules of the Golden Globe race, which prohibit satellite communications and the use of GPS navigation. Slats was accused of receiving GPS reports of his position from the yacht tracker over his shortwave radio SSB by Jean-Socrates, who is doing a circumnavigation attempt to be the oldest woman to sail around the world solo nonstop. The GGR race headquarters has decided that the entrants who received those reports were not at fault because they did not request them. In addition, he was sanctioned by Dutch authorities who told ham operators not to speak with him because he lacked a ham radio operator's license and was allegedly using one of a local club which he had no rights to use at sea. That meant that he was cut off from ham radio weather reports, although he could have had access to Marine SSB weather reports if he arranged them. It's possible that the reduction in the weather reports that he received in the North Atlantic after Dutch authorities instructed ham operators not to communicate with him may have hurt his chances in the later part of the race.
It's unbelievable, and and then you look at the logbook, like 16 days of easterly winds from Cape to Good Hope. 16 days, and I really, you really want to do as good as possible and get close to Jean-Luc. That's my whole plan. And every time it's just, I get stopped every time, again and again and again. And it was already happening with Gregor and Abilash. Abilash actually always kept going. He never got becalmed. And every time I gain 1 degree and then I get becalmed for 9 hours and I'll lose it again, It's so frustrating. And we are on a radio schedule with Uku and Susie every day. Well, 3 times a day we talk. And it's actually really good because we're all on the same thing and we share our emotions, and it's actually really, really cool, really good, I think. And so that makes me quite happy, and we're all talking about doing it again. And it all depends on the weather. Some days you want to do it again, and the next day you never want to do it again when you have no wind again. So yeah, that's and after Cape of Good Hope, it was really strong winds. Every second day or third day. I remember that I had 4 days in a row just on the storm jib and 3 weeks to the main, and still doing 3.5 degrees a day. And then you come to Australia and there's no wind, And these guys are in lots of wind now. Uku is in massive winds now, and he's going to be tomorrow as well. And Susie's is in big winds as well. They're all in big winds in an area where I was like this. I was getting sunburned every day. It's unbelievable. I kind of really like 35 to 40 knots at the beginning, but as soon as the sea starts to build up, and when the front comes past, that's when it gets really annoying, and the seas get too big, and the boats are good. I think the Rustlers are good boats and they're solid, but they're just too light for these big waves. That's the problem. And that's the biggest thing. We're too light, and so you get knocked down a lot. I've been knocked down. Not heavily. I've only been heavily knocked down with the mast, that I could hear water coming in the mast. When I was inside, I hear water coming down the mast. It all becomes a big mess real quick. That's the problem with the knockdowns. But it's and I get a lot of water inside straight away. It's mainly it's just violent, It's very violent when it happens. It's just a big smack along the side, and you're on your side. But it quite happens, when you get the northwesterly, and then within 10 minutes it's southwesterly, when the front passes. And that's when it gets a little bit nasty quite often. You got to jibe quickly, and if you're too late, you get the chances that get bigger that you get knocked down. It's a really Ian in Australia, in Melbourne. is relaying messages for us all the time. So every day I get 1 or 2 messages from home, and that really is really good. It really helps, and yeah, there's a lot of people following, and I get all those. Get all the messages for what they write, and it really is. It helps you. You get your spirits up, you know, and keep going. Yeah. You know, when things go fast, I'm all happy. You know, it doesn't matter if it's 40 knots or 50 knots, as long as it goes fast. A big wave crashed on the back of the boat, broke the door, and then the boat got rolled, and it just swallowed. Water just came in everywhere, and then so everything. On port side, everything was wet, more than on starboard side, but yeah, it was like this deep. Yeah. But so all my electronics are gone, everything is broken. Yeah. But still, everything is wet. My sleeping bag does not get dry, you know. It's just, but it's warm anyway, so I'm used to it, you know. Everything. Look, there's all mold growing everywhere. I kept this t-shirt new. Everything is mold, you know. Everything. Just, but that's, we'll do it, that, you know.
Subscribe to Slowboat Sailing, where you'll see the stories of the most interesting sailors in the world and our round-the-world adventure.